Good morning, everyone. Uh, it's early morning, and I am about to go into my job. During the day, I work in an accounting office, which is something to do. Um, so, welcome, wherever you're at, whatever time zone you're in. Um, Today, I wanted to talk for a few minutes about the appearance of suffering and where that comes from. Suffering is, in a way, when the mind is in disagreement with what's going on, circumstances, situations, emotions. But not just the mind. When I say the word mind, I mean the entire sense of self, the thought, feeling structure, you could say, or the seeming structure. Because all of us have a sense of me or I or self. And this separate sense of self is a sort of trick of the mind, or a trick of the imagination, you could say. I also want to say that the words that I use are not so important. They're all bullshit. The words don't matter because in these talks, these words that come out of this mouth are merely a pointing to something. And there's nowhere to get, there's nothing to do, there's nowhere to go. But the separate sense of self has a lot to do, has a lot to get, has a lot of places to go, you know. But ultimately, what we're talking about is freedom. Freedom from suffering, freedom from delusion or illusion or fear. The separate self, in our world today we like to call it ego, is a fear-based structure, completely made out of fear. And its entire job, it would seem, is to go around traipsing about trying to find security. And the funny thing is it's a structure made out of fear. And so it will never find security. But in its wanderings, it runs after things that it thinks are going to make it feel secure. And it runs away from things that make it feel unsecure. And Buddha would have called that the karmic cycle, you know. I hope all you guys are doing wonderful today. And this coming and going, this going after and away from, this is suffering. And it's all from fear. And there's a particular author who I really enjoy, or enjoyed reading at one point in time, who pointed this out. And he said, ultimately, all fear stems from one fear, and that is the fear of no self, which is, at least where I'm looking from, as true as it gets. There is an illusion of a me. There is no me, however. When looked at when peered at and searched out, the thought, feeling, separate sense of self, or the ego, or even you could say the human, is not real. The body is here, but it's not a body. It is just what you see before you. What the mind tells you you see is purely imagined. When we were children, there was kind of at least what I can recall, I knew I was pretending to do whatever, to play a cowboy or a doctor or a clown or whatever. And it seems that these pretending or imagined ideas become solid at some point, and things get really serious really quick. And we start to take life really seriously, when in fact there is nothing serious happening here. There's a story I like to tell, and it's just a representation. It gives a sense of non-dualness, non-duality. You could imagine being the only thing in existence. You're omniscient, omnipotent, all-powerful, forever. And you're the only thing that exists. And you're bored. You're really, really bored. You got a long time to be here. And so what do? Well, you dream up these places and these animals and these plants and all these different forms, really. Just forms. And all of them exist in you. And you also want to experience things. You want to experience life and death and love and hate and fear and sadness and guilt and shame and joy and peace and bliss and all these different things that are possible to experience. Except, when you do this, the game wouldn't be, it wouldn't be any fun if all the appearing forms knew they were you. So what do? You create, you imagine up a mechanism that creates the appearance of separation. That way, as we know any good story, that way there's conflict, because you can't have a great story without conflict. Imagine watching a film or reading a book and there's no conflict. Well, there wouldn't be a story. And so this mechanism that creates that sense of separation is fear. And then you have your story. Then you have your many different experiences. You have the illusion of suffering. You have love, hate, all of that good stuff. Peace, war, whatever. And the game is on. But you left yourself a contingency plan. You left hints everywhere in the world about who or what you really are, or what's really going on here. That way, if you ever wanted out, you could get out. And you're always telling yourself what's really going on here. I like that story, It gives us, it's an idea of possibilities, of what's really going on here. So suffering Suffering comes from the sense of separate self, the sense of me and you. Ultimately, you could say, and mind you, all this is bullshit, but it's a pointing to. You could say that right now, the form in front of you is you, talking to you, reminding you that this is just a game. There are no real stakes here. That you are all, you are everything. You're the whole kit and caboodle. And separation is just an appearance. Wholeness is. Perfection is. Some could say love is. Truth is. Untruth is not. I know this can sound like gibberish or a philosophy. This is not a philosophy. This is not something you have to believe or not believe. This is not for debate. This is a call to arms. Look around. Use your eyes. Use your ears. What is true? What is not true? Not what do I believe? Not what do I opinionate about? Not what do I like or what do I dislike? What is true? What is untrue? And I think if you look really hard, you'll start to see something. I did. 5 years ago. I will say this. I'm as a character, I've always been a sci-fi fantasy fan. And, all children love to believe in magic. And, look at Harry Potter cells, for instance. We love magic. But how many people's lives feel magical? When you really start to look around, there is a certain kind of magic going on here. It's still there. The world is made of this stuff. Not the idea of magic. Not hocus pocus. Not sleight of hand. But it is truly a wonderful, beautiful, and miraculous place or thing, this life that we appear to have. But all this running about trying to get something, in the future, trying to rid ourselves of something in the past, that's causing a lot of suffering too. This moment, this is it. Right now, this is all we got. There's nothing more real than right now. Can you just be here right now? Can you just be in this moment? Can you just sit fully centered in this? Can you let it all in? If you can, then seemingly suffering will disappear. Time's up. I must go. Have a great day.